Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Noose with Tim Lynch. I'm Tim Lynch. Oh, and do we have an episode for you today? Sorry, it's been a little bit since our last one. It always seems to be that way. It's kind of like me and haircuts. I always want to get them done in a timely fashion, but then 3 months later has passed and I'm constantly just wiping hair out of my forehead. Anyway, I actually had a couple of different ideas already lined up before you, but then something timely came up and I thought, hey, I never get a chance to be timely. Let's just dive right in. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the meeting between Trump and Zelensky in the White House just Friday. So I will tell you, when I first heard about this kerfluffle, if you will, I heard that, kind of Trump put the beating down on Zelensky and I guess he was kind of inappropriate, for lack of a better term. And I really wanted to kind of dig into it and do a show about it and talk about what happened. But, I'll tell you what, just talking to people here and there or reading articles or even looking at 7-minute videos, 11-minute videos, it's kind of hard to figure out exactly what was going on. So then I found C-SPAN had the full 40-minute video of what transpired. And I thought, you know what? I'll watch that video. So you don't have to. The ending is very good. The beginning, there's a lot of stuff that's not really that important. So I'll kind of just take you through a timeline just to be efficient about it. It is important to see how things go and how things progressed throughout the meeting. But I'm not going to show you the whole 40-minute video. There's a lot of redundancy and saying the same things over and over again and saying one thing and then going back and saying the same thing. Just unnecessary. And that's not something we like to do with the news. We like to be efficient, get the information out there, and then, you can learn about things or judge things, do whatever you want. I don't like saying the same thing and then saying it again. It just doesn't get anywhere. It's like if you're having a conversation, you say something, someone agrees, and then you just say it again. Well, what did that accomplish? And that's one of the things, if you have a podcast out for a while with tons of shows, there's always going to be some overlap. I mean, there's going to be some points you made in shows in the past that you bring up again, and that's all appropriate. Hopefully one day I will get there. But in the meantime, one of the reasons it takes me a while to get all these shows out is I try to make kind of everything sorted out, efficient, something I haven't really covered before, something that's new, novel, if you will, and then present it to you. And so again, in this thing, there's a lot of redundancy in what is said, and you'll see that in anytime you have someone giving a speech or a meeting between two leaders, they'll often say the same things over and over again, and we can fast forward through that. So because I don't want to repeat myself, I'm just going to draw you an outline of what happened, and then we'll get to the point, and then I'll show you the video at the end. But otherwise, just saying the same thing over and over again, it doesn't really get anywhere. Sometimes people will say something, and they'll go on a totally different tangent, and then they'll come back and say the same thing again, and it seems like they're not repeating themselves, but still they really are. And that just, it just adds up time, and we just don't have the time for that. Which reminds me, if you do have the time, if you could like this video, if you like it. If you don't, give me a thumbs down, or put it on your social media and tell people how much you hate this. Send it to friends. Tell people how bad I am at this. But otherwise, if you like it, hit the like button. Please follow the channel whether you like it or not. I mean, if you don't like it, you should really know your enemies as well. I am on 2 channels. I am on Rumble and YouTube, and it's allowable to follow me on both. And please leave messages on both. That really gets things going, and the word gets out more. The more comments you leave, the more traction we can get. So please, that would be great. But let's get back to the topic here. I'm going to show you the video. Again, I'm going to show you the beginning and the timeline. Again, I'm going to talk about the timeline and how things transpired, because I don't want you to hear the same thing over and over again. That just, it just doesn't really help anyone and just makes things boring. And sometimes when you say the same thing over again, people get bored and they'll start to fast forward, and then they'll go too far. And they're like, oh, wait, did I miss something? And there's a bit of a FOMO when you watch videos, and I hope I didn't miss something important that'll lead up to this. And then you rewind, and then you realize, oh, I'm just already seeing the same thing. I probably should have just stayed and watched the whole thing through. because now I've probably lost even more time by fast forwarding and rewinding too much and then catching up again. It's just not helpful. So I'm just going to take you through the points individually and not show the numerous times things get repeated over and over again, because that's just not fair to you. So anyway. I make myself laugh. Anyway, so I'm going to start out talking about this video. And again, it's the usual White House video, right? You got the two heads of state. They're sitting in their uncomfortable chairs, which are probably $20,000 each. Thank you, USAID. And they posture and they talk about their different things. But about 4 minutes in is where I'll start to bring up my first brief topic. And that's where Zelensky makes a comment about how evil Putin is, how he's a killer, which certainly agree with, and how bad he is, and I'm going to come back to that later. But one of the things that is repeated over and over again is how bad Putin is. Again, not disagreeing with it. And then Zelensky talks more about how not only Putin but the war, how bad it is, all these people that are dying. He talks about how Russia has captured 20,000 Ukrainians, and I'm not exactly sure what he means by this. I don't know if he means captured in the way that literally arrested, put in jail, captured, or captured meaning we've moved the front line of Russia into Ukraine, and so now those Ukrainians are considered Russians, and now we're just calling them Russians, so they're not really captured. I'm not really sure what he means, but either way, again, it's an evil act. And then he goes on and shows more about how bad Russia is. And again, I'm not disagreeing with this or arguing this in any way. I'm just telling you what he's doing. I'm setting the stage because this is important later on. He shows pictures, numerous, of pictures of prisoners of war, I guess, before and after Ukrainians who have, how they look before, and then they're in the Russian prison, and how they're abused and tortured and malnourished. And he just shows picture after picture after picture after picture after picture. I mean, it just keeps going through it. And again, I'm already all right, you can show me the stack and show me one or two. I get it. I'm ready to move on. But he just kept showing. And Trump is yep, and he looked at every single one, was very earnest about it, and said, this is why I want things to stop, is because of all of these atrocities. So everything's, basically going great. And then they say, all right, let's start getting some questions from the press. And one of the first reports, and again, they're all off camera, so I can't, for the most part, know who's asking what questions. But one of the reporters asks in this meeting, how much money is going into to fund Ukraine. And again, just in case you've been under a rock, the whole point of this meeting is that President Trump is going to offer continued support of Ukraine, with money, materials, weapons, what they need. However, what's a little different is he's not doing it for free. Or he's not just giving it away. He's not. He wants something in return, and that's something. If you know about Trump, he's always been that way. Again, whether you agree with him on everything, nothing, or somewhere in between, he's always consistent with himself. And one of the things, even with the Gulf War, the Iraq War, which he never wanted to go into, by the way, always been consistent with that. He always said, "Well, why didn't we at least get some oil out of it?" Right? I mean, there's got to be some interest for us. I mean, we can save the world, great, but it costs us money. It costs us lives. It costs taxpayer money. So he's always, how does it help us? So the whole idea now, and this is kind of turning the tables on things, is we're going to give you support, but in exchange for something that will be helpful to us. And that one of the things that Ukraine are these rare earth minerals that are very beneficial, technology, weapons, computers, I think, all kinds of things. And we don't have that. We have gas and oil, he says, but we don't really have these rare earth minerals. So that'll be very beneficial to us. So we're going to give you something that you really need to live. And we're going to, in exchange, take some stuff that you're going to give us some stuff that we need to make our lives better. And so that's the whole point is they're going to make this deal. And so here's this press setting where they've got all the cameras, and we're going to sign this deal to show how Trump is supporting Zelensky in Ukraine. And so the reporter asks, well, how much money are we giving them, and how will that provide long-term security for Ukraine? And that's the first time the security thing came to my knowledge. I wasn't really aware of this. Now, if you are way into this and follow every nitty-gritty point of this, then you know exactly what they're talking about. I did not. I kind of follow this moderately. So Trump basically says, it's not clear. We're going to give them money and support, but we don't know how much, because part of that will be tied up with these rare earth minerals, and that's not really set yet. And then the reporter again asked, though, what about security for Ukraine? And Trump doesn't really address it directly. Doesn't say yes, doesn't say no, just kind of skirts it, which is, again, at this point, I'm watching this, and I'm not even sure what the question is, so I'm kind of watching and trying to figure out what's happening. And he goes, I just need to make the deal first. Let's make this deal first. We'll worry about security afterwards. He's not concerned about security. He said all he wants to do is stop the killing. That's his goal. And that's one of the things he does say over and over. I want to stop the killing. I want to stop the deaths. He talks about how last week 2,000 soldiers died last week alone from both sides. And that's another thing he's very clear on. He doesn't want to just save lives from the Ukraine. He wants to save lives from Russia as well. All lives are important to him. He wants to save everybody's lives. He's very clear. He's very consistent with that. He says that over and over again. And so that's his point. He goes, I just want to make this deal. I want to get a ceasefire going. I want to stop the deaths. That's his point. That's his issue. So about 16 minutes in, a reporter brings up some of Putin's comments earlier about remember I said he was, he's a killer, he's evil, all that stuff. Again, all that's true. And one of the things he said earlier was that there'll be no compromises with Putin. And so he brings up that as a question, was like, well, what did you mean by no compromises? And Trump basically says, well, you make a deal, there's always compromises. And he says, hopefully not big, but there's always compromises. And Trump says, his role as president of the United States is he's like, I'm basically a mediator. I'm an arbitrator. I just want to be a peacemaker. He literally says, I want to save lives more than anything else. That's his point. His point isn't to make Ukraine win. The point isn't to get Russia out. The point isn't any of that. The point is, I just want the killing to stop. He's very clear about that over and over again. And he says, right now we're headed in the wrong direction. He tells Zelensky, he goes, this could lead to a third world war. And again, he just wants the peace. So now about 19 or 20 minutes in, another reporter asks, if there's no peace, will we send more arms to Ukraine? And Trump basically says, well, sure, but hopefully not much, because hopefully this will end very soon. And then the follow-up question again is, well, will this then provide security guarantees? And I'm still watching this, and if you don't know what it is, you're right there with me at that time. What do you mean by this? What are these security guarantees? And again, he kind of declined to answer this. And he goes, look, security, that's 2% of the problem. He goes, that's the easy part. He goes, I just want to get this deal done first. I want to stop the killing. The security, that's a different issue. And then he starts talking about it, and then it becomes a little clearer. So he says other countries will have security in there, meaning, and I want to say it was like England and France. Maybe I got that wrong, maybe some others. But there'll be other European countries with security. And what they mean is basically military there. They have soldiers there. They have security to stay in Ukraine, with the idea that if Putin reinvades, they've got people there. And what Trump basically is saying is, and again, very consistent, I don't want U.S. soldiers all over the world. Again, he didn't say that specifically, but if you read between the lines, he's like, if we make this deal, we will be giving you, support. We will help broker this deal. We will end the war. We will end the death. We will get some rare earth minerals. We now have an interest in Ukraine, right? Right now, we really don't have an interest in Ukraine. I mean, they're not really providing us anything. Again, there's always an interest, in saving innocent lives, of course, but there's no interest, right? There's nothing that we need from them. But if we have a deal with them to get stuff that is helpful to us, we now have an interest. And if someone is going to attack an interest of yours, you'll be secure, right? And that's kind of what he was allaying there, and what Zelensky apparently couldn't read between the lines. He's like, look, we have an interest there. We don't need security. Our workers will be there. And then he basically says, look, you won't need much security. Once this deal is done, Russia's out. And he goes, Russia will come back. Maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong. But he basically said, look, I've worked with Putin in the past. They're not coming back. If we make this deal, they're not coming back. And then another reporter comes and asks Trump, and he goes, President Trump, what gives you the moral courage and conviction to engage with Putin where no one else would? And Trump, of course, goes, I like this guy. Where are you from? It's from One American News Network, right? And basically Trump says, why am I dealing with Putin? Because he feels he has an obligation to, once again, stop the death. So there's all these deaths. He wants people to stop dying. Sometimes you have to meet with people you don't like. And so that's why he did it. He goes, I just want to stop the death. I'll do it. If no one else will, I'll do it. Now, around 23, 24 minutes in, this is where the video starts getting a little spicy, because Zelensky starts chiming in. And he goes, I want to come in. I want to address the ceasefire. I want to address these security guarantees that we've been discussing, that mostly Trump has been answering. And by the way, this occurred like right after Trump complimented Zelensky, really compliment. And by the way, if you watch the video multiple times, complimenting him, the bravery of his people, really has been quite nice to him. And immediately before Zelensky started speaking at this point, even said, again, complimenting him, even saying, hey, I like the clothes you wear, even when a reporter maybe inappropriately called him out on that. But Trump was great, very supportive. And so Zelensky, right after he gets complimented, says, a ceasefire will not work. And again, he may be right. And in his own defense, he said, Putin has already broken 25 ceasefires. And you're like, yeah, I can see where you say, like, yeah, I'm not buying a ceasefire. And Trump said, but he never broke it with me. And that's kind of one of the contentions here. And so about 24 and a half minutes in, Zelensky very clearly says, we will never accept a ceasefire without security guarantees. He goes, look, European securities, they're great, but they're basically nothing without the American backstop. And then he further goes on about 27 minutes into the video, starts talking about war and the rule of war. And basically the guy who started it, the invader, you lose, you pay for it all. You pay for all of our renovations. You pay for everything you've done. And one of the things he says is maybe some of this money that Russia will pay them will help pay for military support. At which point Trump said, look, I'm in the middle. I just want this thing to end, again, for the 18 bazillionth time. He said, I'm for both sides. If we can solve it, meaning solve the Ukrainian-Russian war, great. If not, they'll have to fight it out. And then nearly 39 minutes in to the video, so after that, Zelensky says, you know what? He grew up and saw America as this, great, rich country with, great music, rock and roll and muscle cars, and always a force of good. But lately, he said, apparently he's been talking to his friends in Poland, who, by the way, do not let illegal aliens in. Very safe country. But he's been talking with his friends in Poland, and apparently these people are worried that U.S. is aligning themselves a little too much with Russia. And so he says to Trump, what's your answer to them? What's your answer to the Polacks that they think you're aligning yourselves too much with Russia? And Trump says, very consistent to Trump, I'm not aligned with anyone. I'm aligned with America. Right? I mean, that's him. That's what he's always said. It's America's interest. And it actually goes, I'm aligned with the world. He wants American interests and world peace. It's been the same Trump for as long as we've ever known him, for decades. And at this point, this is the crux of the matter. And so this, if you just talk to people and hear about a blow up, if you talk to people or watch a short video of the actual argument, which we have not even really gotten to yet, we haven't even gotten to the fireworks, you will think, Trump was, arguing about how Zelensky was behaving. Zelensky was behaving poorly, but you don't really know why. Okay. And I want to be very clear. Their arguments, both sides' arguments are valid, right? So Zelensky's argument is, yes, I want your support, but I want you here in our country. I want security guarantees because, yeah, you say you want a ceasefire, but Putin's already broken 25. So I don't blame him, right? I mean, what's the old saying? 25 times bitten, 26 times shy. So I get that. I really do. At the same time, Trump has worked with Putin in the past before, and he goes, he's never got against me. And so Trump might be right that if he gets involved, he's not coming back. And you know what? Only time will tell. So both sides have their arguments. But here's the problem, and this is why the explosion occurred. Those issues get dealt behind the scenes. They get dealt behind closed doors. You ask for help behind closed doors. You ask for your needs behind closed doors. You don't try to embarrass someone in front of the cameras on a worldwide stage. You certainly don't embarrass the one person that can save your life, your country, on a world stage. I mean, imagine, you want a favor from a friend, and you're in dire needs, and they give you 98% of what you ask for. And there's I just can't do the other 2%. You know what you do? You say, hey, I understand. Thank you so much for the 98%. This is huge. This is awesome. With the idea that you may get the other 2% if you need it, but for now, 98% might be enough. Hey, let's try that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. This is awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You don't go in front of someone else and make them look like a jerk for not giving you the other 2%, because that's a dick move. And that's what he did. And that's where the shenanigans ensued. And that's what I want you to understand. So everything leading up is we've got this war. Trump's trying to end it. He just wants deaths to stop. He thinks he can end it with a ceasefire. He's going to get rare earth minerals for it. He doesn't think that American securities need to be there. Zelensky does. That's fine. But then Zelensky tries to throw Trump under the bus and make him look like an a-hole in front of the world. And that's where they said, not going to happen. And so that's where I'm going to start showing the video, because that's where about 42 minutes in, J.D. Vance calls out Zelensky for litigating his position in front of the American people. So I'm going to sit back, let you watch that, and then we'll see what happens.
Hey, I want to respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now the President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact
2015.
2014.
2014 and 2014.
2014.
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah, but
that's exactly right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he didn't.
But if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Count once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly
Remember
what
this.
you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
cards.
Playing cards. Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards.
Serious.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's back to you. Far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once? This entire meeting? No, in this entire meeting, have you said thank you? You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you can...
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country is in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No. You've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
you
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military equipment, and you men are brave, but they had to use our military.
What about
if you didn't have our military equipment, if you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something
maybe
new.
Less.
In 2 weeks. Of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I tell you.
Just say thank you.
I said a lot of
except that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand, sir.
I think it's very important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the cards.
Thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying. You're running low on soldiers. Listen, you're running low on soldiers. It would be a damn good thing. And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go, and I wanted this. Look. If you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
With guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't with me.
For you
that wasn't with me. That was with a guy named Biden, who was not a smart person. That was with Obama.
It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
One more question to Mr. Vice President. I'm sorry. Here.
It's going to be a tough deal to make, because the attitudes have to change.
What if Russia breaks ceasefire? What if Russia breaks peace talks, what do we do then? I understand that it's a heated conversation right now.
What are you saying?
She's asking, what if Russia breaks the ceasefire?
What if anything? What if a bomb drops on your head right now?
Dang.
Okay? What if they broke it? I don't know. They broke it with Biden because Biden, they didn't respect him. They didn't respect Obama. They respect me. Let me tell you, Putin went through a hell of a lot with me. He went through a phony witch hunt where they used him and Russia. Russia. You ever hear of that deal? That was a phony Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scam. Hillary Clinton, Shifty Adam Schiff. It was a Democrat scam. And he had to go through that. And he did go through it. We didn't end up in a war. And he went through it. He was accused of all that stuff. He had nothing to do with it. It came out of Hunter Biden's bathroom. It came out of Hunter Biden's bedroom. It was disgusting. And then they said, oh, the laptop from hell was made by Russia. The 51 agents. The whole thing was a scam. And he had to put up with that. He was being accused of all that stuff. All I can say is this. He might have broken deals with Obama and Bush, and he might have broken them with Biden. He did, maybe. Maybe he didn't. I don't know what happened. But he didn't break them with me. He wants to make a deal. I don't know if you can make a deal. The problem is I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty.
Ay caramba.
But you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing. All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think? Huh? This is going to be great television, I will say that.
Okay, quite a fiery finish, no? But without that kind of knowledge going into it, it's not exactly clear what's going on. And that's why I kind of wanted to really set up the stage. And there's quite a setup for this. But again, very briefly, Zelensky wants something. Trump gave him almost everything he wanted. And Zelensky acted like a little bitch and tried to make Trump look bad to get everything else. And Trump said, no bad. I'm out of here. Not going to do it. And you know what? He's right. And I think Zelensky overplayed his cards. I think part of it is, I don't know why, he didn't know who he was dealing with. I think he figured, look, all the world loves me. That's what all the press tells everyone to do, right? That's what USAID paid, Sean Penn and was it Beyonce and Ben Stiller, right? Didn't they all pay him all like millions of dollars to like do photo ops with him and shake his hand so all America thought how great he was? By the way, not so great. Not a great person. But perhaps that's a different story. But here he thought he's just going to get his way because he always gets his way because that's the manipulation of the global powers. And Trump said no. And that's it. I think he thought, if this were Biden would have just said, okay, 10% to the big guy. But no, Trump called him out. J.D. Vance called him out. Marco Rubio, who I don't think was on the video I just showed you, but was earlier in the video, and then has done interviews since, very clear about what the issue is. You don't come in on a world stage asking for help and then doing that. Again, dick move. So that's it. That's basically everything I wanted to talk about, put everything into perspective. I'm sure everything will turn out fine. I'm sure Zelensky will tuck tail and come right back real quick, apologizing and signing on the dotted line. But if not, hey, you know what? Like Trump said, they'll have to fight it out. But that's what I had for you today. Hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for being with us to the end. Quite a show, right? Hope to see you next time. In the meantime, take care, and I will see you around. Thanks.